G'day trendsetters, welcome to episode 14 of the Wabi podcast. Today is more an addendum to the last podcast, episode 13 on Teaism is a pluralism, but I'm going to put it as a standalone episode and a bit different than usual. Rather than being unscripted today, I'm going to be on script. I've chosen to read a talk that I gave to Zen meditation group on one of my favourite Zen phrases, which I've framed in the context of Diana X tripartite theory, which I talked about in the last podcast episode, the exclusivism, inclusivism, and pluralism. So, polish the floor, grab a tea, and tune in. Rosary Hose, let's get stuck into it. I have to make a little note that I've got some tradies working out there in the stairwell, and they might be a bit noisy from time to time, and it's also Marseille, and it's getting hot, so the window's open, so you might hear some motorbikes and people popping monos and all sorts of stuff outside. Anyway, it's all part of it. Today I'd like to talk about hake nao migaku beshi, or keep polishing your perfect pearl. Here it is, read it as Scroll Patrol number 34. My commentary on different Zen go or Zen phrases that we use as hanging scrolls in the tea room. And this is my absolute favourite Zen phrase. I think I've written this calligraphy, 5-character calligraphy phrase more than any other Zen go. If anybody's bought my book Pearl Among the Clouds, or Grandmaster's book that I translated, Pearl Among the Clouds, more than likely you would have received a postcard inside with these characters written on. So it's quite dear to my heart, and I'll talk about that in the piece of writing that I've prepared that I'm going to read to you now. So Scroll Patrol number 34, Wabi podcast number 14, hake nao migaku beshi, keep polishing your perfect pearl. If someone were to ask me, what's your favourite Zen go? I'd say, hake nao migaku beshi, keep polishing your perfect pearl. I vividly remember the scene where I first encountered this phrase. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I'd just finished vacuuming the tatami before Keiko, when a fellow student arrived with the latest issue of Brutus magazine. Brutus magazine is a cultural magazine in Japan. The then Prime Minister Koizumi, remember that good-looking dude? Was on the cover, sitting in Caesar and sipping matcha from a black raku chawan. Sensei leafed through the pages, pausing now and then to point out articles worth reading. Then she stopped, completely still, at a full-page ad. A Korean Ido chawan, with a pronounced blemish, was at the centre of this ad, and a quiet string of characters descended from the top right corner. Hake nao migaku beshi. Do you know this Zen phrase? She said. No, I replied, without revealing that I couldn't even read most of the characters. It's one of the best, she said, gently reading it aloud. Hake nao migaku beshi, and gave a brief explanation. This perfect pearl of wisdom dropped into the clear waters of my mind and settled on the riverbed of my heart. From that day on, each temai, every zazen, has become one more wax and polish, revealing this humble truth. Let's have a look at the characters. Haku depicts light, clarity, and the colour white. The character originally showed a drop of something white or bright, often interpreted as sunlight or white essence. Over time, it came to mean pure, clear, or untainted, evoking the luminous quality of a flawless pearl. Kei is a form of jade or pearl, a sacred or auspicious stone symbolising virtue and moral clarity. Nao means still, yet, or even more so. It suggests continuation, aspiration, even reverence, and urges not to stop at seeming perfection. Beshi. It's written in Chinese grammar and read Hake Nao Migaku Beshi. So you swap the last two characters around when you read it through Japanese grammar, but I'm going through the characters here in Chinese. Beshi indicates possibility or permission, conveying can, may, or should. It opens all gates to further effort. Migaku is composed of hemp. The top part is the character for hemp, and the bottom part is ishi, or stone. Originally, it depicted hemp being ground or rubbed against a stone, literally to grind, polish, wear down through effort. The image is of something being refined by friction, slowly transformed by steady contact. In Zen and tea, it symbolises the path of cultivation, polishing not to attain something new, but to reveal what is already there beneath the bark. So, Hake Nao Migaku Beshi expresses the idea that even the purest pearl can and should still be polished. No matter how flawless something appears, how wise or accomplished we believe ourselves to be, the only constant is change. A general, worthy of respect, polishes their own boots. The pearl must be polished through lifelong practice, from your own morning zazen, an unpleasant barista, a screaming child on a 13-hour flight, a high-stakes business meeting, to the chakai with friends. The path continues, and the pearl is polished, not to perfect it, but to remember its nature, again and again. Hake Nao Migaku Beshi. Without the keep polishing part, we might ask, what is the perfect pearl? It points to something complete, impeccable. But what is it? And where is it found? These questions belong to your practice. In the Book of Odes, we find one of the earliest expressions of Hake Nao Migaku Beshi, written like this: even when the white pearl is unblemished, it must still be polished, but words once misspoken cannot be recalled. Even when the white pearl is unblemished, it must still be polished, but words once misspoken cannot be recalled. And appropriately, someone's out there sanding the wall. It's a striking contrast. The pearl, perfect in its purity, calls for continual polishing, yet a single misjudged word, once spoken, resists all revision. Even our perfect pearls are always prone to imperfection. In any moment, we polish and are polished. Practice endures, and through each encounter, we shape each other, like a silk cloth upon a pearl, or stones scraping away bark. The very place we stand at this moment is our place of practice. We encounter difference every day, different beliefs, worldviews, and ways of being. How we relate to difference is a way of polishing. We live in a time of ideological rigidity, where conflict doesn't only erupt between people, it often brews inside us, between what we profess and how we actually relate. In Diana Eck's book, Encountering God, she explores 3 ways of polishing, 3 pearls, if you like, that mirror how we engage with truth and with others: exclusivism, inclusivism, and pluralism. Pearl 1, polishing in isolation, or exclusivism. This is the pearl of the mountain hermit. It gleams with conviction and single-mindedness. This is the person or tradition that believes only my way is true. It is pure, yes, but it is also alone. There is a strength in exclusivism. It can provide focus, discipline, and depth. But when conviction becomes closed off, what begins as clarity becomes opaque. Diligence in dialogue falls away, and the pearl loses its luster. The pearl, polished in isolation, can no longer reflect the light of others. Come to the marketplace and check the value of your beliefs. Pearl 2, polishing with idealism, inclusivism. The second pearl believes in openness, but only in theory. This pearl believes other paths have truth too, but only partially. This stance says, all paths are valid, but in the end, they all point to mine. Like a Buddhist who interprets Christ as a bodhisattva, or a Christian who believes Buddha a saint. It sounds kind and seems open, but often hides an unconscious sense of superiority. Inclusivism says, I welcome your views as stepping stones to my own. It risks becoming idealism divorced from reality, frustrated when others just can't seem to see the truth. It's a quiet aggression disguised as kindness. Here, disagreement is not welcomed, but pitied. It allows others to speak, but does not truly listen. This pearl is polished with good intentions, but shines only on the surface, a kind of self-congratulatory glow that avoids the friction of real encounter. Pearl 3, polishing and being polished. The third pearl is not polished in isolation, nor only by the hands of its owner. It is polished and being polished by relationship, by difference, in encounters. This is the path of pluralism. Ichigo Ichiet, motherfucker. Pluralism is not relativism. It does not claim all truths are equal. Reality is really real. We just can't be certain about it, no matter how close we know it. Is not the reason you practice because you believe in reality? I believe in reality. Does not the absence of a practice push our sorry asses further into the marsh of relativism? Pluralism says, bring your pearl, polish it, but let it be buffed by others. Let it be tested. Let it shine, not despite difference, but because of it. To surrender our so-called values may be the gateway to everything of value. Chanayu, tea practice, is one of the last living expressions of this third pearl. It creates a space where worldviews sit side by side, where presence is more persuasive than argument. It invites us to show up, not to convert or control, but to receive and review. Chanayu was born in a time of crisis. in Warring States period Japan. Here, the way of tea was not an isolated aesthetic pursuit, but part of a samurai's lived experience, bound to military strategy, ethical conduct, and personal cultivation. In our current world, where ideological battles rage in digital spaces, we need this third pearl more than ever. The discipline to stay open, the courage to let our certainties be questioned, and the humility to be polished. Tea and Zen do not offer comfort, they offer responsibility. Keep polishing your perfect pearl means never confusing clarity with completion. Let your truth be sincere, but not sealed. Keep polishing your practice and letting your practice be polished. Your pearl is beautiful, bitch. So there you go. That's my thoughts on Hakke nao Migakubeshi. Keep polishing your perfect pearl. You can let me know what you reckon in the comments. It could provide some food for thought to work out how to elaborate this more in practice and give real concrete examples of other people that may serve as an example. I know Diana Ecker in her book mentions Gandhi and his activities as a good example of pluralism in practice. So I'd be curious to know if anyone else has any other ideas that we can learn from. So thanks heaps for tuning in. It was a pleasure having your ears for a bit. If you'd like to support my activities, you can have a look at the links in the description. Patreon will be the best way. If you have any other ideas about things you'd like me to elaborate on in this space, in this talk of teaism as a pluralism, let me know. And I'll endeavour to take that up in the future episodes. It's a subject which I'm very interested in at the moment. Doing what little bit I can in my very, very tiny sphere to create a hopeful and bright, pearly future. So rock the house. Bye-bye.